Support for the government on its handling of the economy. Parents told to stick with secondary schools they choose for the common entrance exam. And in sports, West Indies fight but lose the 2020 to India.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
Hello, good evening to you. I'm Lisa Broom. This is the CBC Evening News. A local banking consultant has given government his stamp of approval for its approach to the economic downturn. Patrick Tannis says the Democratic Labour Party administration has done well to weather the financial storm, noting that Barbados is one of few countries that has been able to keep its economy afloat. His comments came during the DLP weekly lunchtime lecture at the George Street Auditorium.
We can see that there has been progressive steps that were enacted by this current administration to try and temper what clearly was the worst recession in known history. What has that resulted in? That has resulted in a society that is still afloat, even though we have some areas that if we were to take a red ink pen, we would have to circle them and say, these areas need attention. But when we look at the overall motility, the overall stance of the economy, we can see that Barbados has not bottomed out as some other nations have had that very awful experience of doing.
Well, Mr. Tannis has also given his full support to government's decision to enter into a deal with Gol Airlines out of Brazil. He says it was a good move to promote tourism while creating new possibilities for international business.
This airline has progressively seen tourists coming into Barbados and Barbadians with the ability to go to Brazil, not just as tourists, but as potential investors on both sides.
Parents have again been put on notice. The Ministry of Education says there are limited spaces for transfers following yesterday's release of results from the 11+ examination. 3,610 Class 4 primary school students who sat the exam have been allocated a place in a public secondary school or a bursary. Minister of Education Ronald Jones says parents made their choice of secondary schools and it's hard to move students around in the present system.
Some person would say, you know, my child got a mark of 234.80, but you know that mark is a Queen's College mark or a Harrison College mark. But I didn't get it, so I want my child to be transferred there. It's almost asking an impossibility, really. Because students have been allocated up to 150. You've expressed choice one was this school. So in this case you got choice one, but your child got 234. So it is almost impossibility.
Well, Minister Jones also says all secondary schools bring significant value to the system.
I know persons sometimes argue of proximity to the area, and that is a consideration that can be looked at and is usually looked at by our department, our exams department, etc. We try where we can to facilitate. We take a whole lot of social derivatives to be brought to bear. I mean, this transportation is free across the country, but there might be other social parameters that we might have to take into consideration in reallocating or allocating.
2 people are nursing injuries following an accident at Graham Hall, Christchurch last night just before the Warners intersection on the ABC highway. They are 29-year-old Jamar Morris of Sion Hill, St. James and 23-year-old Akila Clark of Gall Hill, Christchurch. Both of them were traveling in a white Nissan Sunny when it overturned. Police Public Relations Officer Inspector David Welch told CBC Morris complained of pains to his right shoulder, while Clark complained of pains to her neck, back and stomach. They were both taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital by ambulance where they were treated for their injuries. And police are probing the unnatural death of an elderly resident of Bottom Close, Wildy St. Michael. Dead is 68-year-old Michael Clark, whose lifeless body was discovered by his daughter in his bed around 7 o'clock last night. Reports are that she called the paramedics who were unable to resuscitate him. Police Public Relations Officer Inspector David Welch said a post-mortem on Clark's body is expected to be conducted next week to ascertain the cause of his death. We'll have more news in just a moment. Fishermen's Day is being celebrated in Barbados this year against a backdrop of proposed changes designed to make this country's industry more competitive on the regional and international market. Already, some improvements to the island's fishing industry have been visible, but new across-the-board standards are being readied, which could see massive physical alterations to some of Barbados's major fishing outlets. Among those earmarked for major upgrading is the Belinda Cox Fishing Complex at Oistins, which has scaled down its industry celebrations this year. PR officer of the Oistins Users Committee, Kemar Harris, told CBC the week of activities stretching from June 25th to 29th will still be full of excitement and entertainment.
We'll be starting here the 25th of June with a role play. This will be exchange of jobs, which will be the auxiliary and general staff here at the market. They will perform the duties of the fisher folk, fishermen and so forth. Vice versa, they will come over to be the management team, assistant managers, assistant supervisors and so forth. Just everyone feeling a pinch of how one another's job is done.
Mr. Harris also indicated that several other communities will be involved.
That concludes the week of activities here at the market, which is the actual birthday for Fishermen's Week, which is the birthday of Fishermen's Day. And in that we have a float parade, mini carnival with the fisher folk management team, people from the community, children and so forth, and we journey at 10 o'clock, we journey from the Harvest Mart complex, save a lot, straight down along this highway, turn into Super Center, and we conclude here at the Belinda Cox Fish Market. Proceeding after that, there'll be free food the whole day, starting from 2 o'clock, till basically the food runs out.
Met officials say 16 systems are likely to impact Barbados and the Caribbean this year. This assessment from senior meteorologist Claremont Williams, who says this forecast is in line with the predictions of noted Professor William Gray and the scientists at the National Hurricane Center in Miami. Mr. Williams says the names of the storms are rotated every 6 years, and this year's names will be used from 2005, but its most famous hurricane, Katrina, will be retired along with a couple of others.
We're looking at an above average season, and the researchers tell us that many of the parameters that were present for the 2010 season are still pretty much with us, right? Some of them have weakened, but by and large those parameters are still there. So that is the basis for again expecting an above average season.
Mr. Williams says the focus must be on preparation, adding that last year Tropical Storm Tomas surprised virtually everyone by developing in a rapid fashion, catching thousands off guard. He says the scenario for a repeat is real, but he says everything is being done to ensure all systems are in place to guard against such eventuality.
Whether it's an above average season, an average season, or below average season, we are all susceptible to hurricane strikes. So it should make no difference whether we expecting an above average season or below average season. We should always be prepared, right? Because the truth is, it really only needs one system. Whether the season is above average or below average, it really only needs one system to create that can set back most of these islands 10, 15 years.
There are plans for high-rise housing in the area next to the old ice factory, which was destroyed by fire yesterday. Word of this from City MP Patrick Todd. He reveals that negotiations in this regard are in progress.
The government would have recently compulsorily acquired property which is currently housed by Beijing Cleaning Enterprises, and I know that for high-rise housing solutions. Currently, I know that negotiations with the current owner and government are taking place in terms of completing that compulsory acquisition process. And I know that the adjoining building which suffered damage by this fire is also a possible location for additional high-rise housing solutions.
Customers of Kentucky Fried Chicken were treated yesterday as the fast food outlet launched their new slogan. The new So Good slogan has replaced the decades-old finger-licking good internationally. A CBC team visited the Hastings restaurant where staff and customers were in a party mood. Each of the 13 outlets offered customers who spent over $25 a chance to win a variety of prizes, while staff handed out free cake to mark the occasion. Well, sports is up next. We have Sean Green to join us.
And good evening, I'm Sean Green with the CBC Sports. Despite 4 for 16 from West Indies captain Darren Sammy, his men still sank against India in the one-off Digicel Pearls 2020 match in Port of Spain today. India reached 159 for 6 in their 20 overs. The West Indies only managed 143 for 5.
Swung away. Good hit. That's gone all the way.
Now this could be danger. This should be out. It should be out. And it's taken. 3 to Sammy. It's the end of Patel. Four to Sammy. It's a good catch taken. It wasn't flying.
And a fast bowler. In the air. Will carry all the way.
He has his revenge. Barnwell.
Swung away. He really got hold of that one. Takes it away. Forward a square for 6.
That is one more for Bishu.
And there he goes. Big hit. Back towards the Brian Lara Pavilion.
It's 159 for 6.
Keeps its line. Big appeal for a catch. Umpire gives him out.
No referrals. Hold him. Munaf Patel.
Another fine shot by Samuels. He's got hold of that. That's gone all the way. Well, he's got hold of that. So he's got a boundary for it.
It appears that we'd have to get a really...
And they've just lost another wicket.
Ball outside. Swung away. That's a good hit. Cleared mid-wicket. Cleared Harbhajan.
That's gone again. Barnwell doesn't even bother to move. They need some more of these, the West Indies.
Hopeful appeal, and they'll scramble an extra, maybe a second. No, just it will be 1, and it's a comfortable victory in the end for India.
More cricket later, but first motorsports. The defending champion Roger the Sheriff Skeet and co-driver Louis Valencia dominated day 1 of the Sol Rally Barbados 2011. Skeet took the lead from today's first stage at Pickering's. He's followed by Britain's Paul Bird and local boy Paul the Surfer Bourne. Meanwhile, Roger the Ninja Hill and Roger Mears are both out after the first day. CBC's Marsha Boyce took in some of the action at the Automotive Arts Sol Orange Hill stage.
We're on the 3.8-kilometer Orange Hill stage. Roger the Sheriff Skeet in the Subaru Impreza WRCS 12 was already in the lead. Challenging him for the top spot was Britain's Paul Bird in the Ford Focus. This was the second run at Orange Hill and the 5th stage of the day. Paul the Surfer Bourne had the 3rd fastest time by the lunch break in his Ford Focus. Rob Swan's Subaru Impreza was the 4th car through the course. The Englishman was 5th after 5 stages. 2006 champion Gary Gregg of Jamaica in another Focus. He would be 6th overall after this run. The Suzuki SX4 of Sean Gill could be heard from a mile away. He was in the top 10 at the halfway point. Trinidad and Tobago's John Penty Powell was the fourth fastest after this stage in his Impreza, while Neil Armstrong was leading the charge for the two-wheel drive vehicles in his Toyota Starlet. He upset some of the big boys for 7th position after 5 stages. With the Mayor's brothers out of commission, another set of brothers, Ian and Robert Warren, held a top 10 spot. Their Suzuki Swift was the second fastest two-wheel drive. Josh Reed in the Toyota Starlet was one of the few drivers to push through the bend. He's one of the contenders for group honours in Super Modified 9. Spectators watched from every vantage point, and so did we. Here's Sammy Cumberbatch in the BMW M3. He's always a crowd favourite. Not to be left out were the historic cars. Britain's Steve Perez in the Porsche. Darrell Clark in a Honda Civic was one of the early leaders in Modified 7. And keep your eye on Ralph White's Toyota Starlet coming out of the right-hand bend. Of course, the all-female team of Shannon Curtin and Lisa Rowett was also on show in a Datsun 160J. But after proceedings on day 1, there's still lots of driving to do, with 11 stages on day 2. Marsha Boyce, CBC Sports.
Back to cricket. Off-spinner Shane Shillingford can now return to international cricket. Shillingford, who was reported for an illegal action back in November, has been cleared by the International Cricket Council. The ICC notified the West Indies Cricket Board of the clearance following a biomechanical bowling analysis, which was conducted at the University of Australia on May 25th. Here at home, 3 centuries were scored on the opening day of the 3rd series of matches in the Lima BCA First Division competition. Jonathan Drake smashed 107 as Guardian General Barbados Youth closed on 283 for 5 against Banks at Cane Garden. Von Rittners made 110 for Tele-Barbados Carlton against Supercenter Spartan in the Park. As Carlton, they are on 264 for 9. At Wildy, Jonathan Carter, well, he will resume on 155 as Sagicor UWI ended the day on 327 for 4 against Lima. At Bayfield, BN St. Catherine, well, they're in some deep trouble at 72 for 8. Replying to 179 made by CGI Sandy Crest Maple. At Foursquare, ICBL Empire struggled again, being dismissed for 130 by ASAFU Pickwick, who are 47 for 2 in reply. And at Paragon, YMPC made 146 for 9. The BDS Sports Program, there are 47 without loss. Interim CONCACAF President Lyle Austin has been suspended by the Continental Federation for allegedly violating the rules. The decision has been taken by the majority of CONCACAF Executive Committee members, who are also asking FIFA to extend the suspension to football duties worldwide until his full hearing on July 13th. Austin has been embroiled in a confrontation with General Secretary Truck Blazer ever since he replaced Jack Warner as the president last Monday. Li Na created history today at the French Open when she became the first Chinese player to win a Grand Slam singles title.
Li, trying to become the first Chinese player to win a major singles title, said that reaching the final at this year's Australian Open provided a boost of confidence that showed Saturday. Li looked relaxed and confident as she got off to a flying start before winning the first set 6 games to 4. Li went ahead 3-1 in the second set before the Italian upped her game. It went to a tie-break, but it was the Chinese player's turn to put her foot down. Li running off 7 straight points, falling onto her back on the red clay as the new French Open champion. Li Na putting her name in the record books by becoming the first Asian-born player to win a tennis major, an accomplishment that'll see her rise to a career-best 4th in the world.
That's it for sports. The weather is next.
A very good evening to all. It was hot and humid here in Barbados today. The maximum temperature at the airport got up to 30.9 degrees Celsius. The minimum temperature was 26.7. At 6 o'clock, skies were fair. The temperature was, comes up, the 28.6 degrees Celsius, the humidity 83%, and the winds out of the south-southeast at 17 kilometers per hour. And we had this tropical wave pass into the south of the area last night, but we had a fairly significant fall off in the wind speeds. As a result, the extra moisture that tropical wave brought into the area resulted in an increase in the humidity, and that is the very reason we had the very hot and humid conditions. We are getting a very pronounced southerly and southeasterly flow. That too is bringing up quite a bit of heat feet from down south. Now for tonight and into tomorrow, this pronounced southerly flow is going to be pulling some of the moisture presently in the region of the intertropical convergence zone over Barbados and the southern portion of the island chain, and we could very well see cloudy skies and scattered showers. Now the axis of that tropical wave is presently around 62 degrees west, pushing into the Caribbean Sea. There are two tropical waves in the eastern Atlantic, one around 33 degrees west, the other one around 50 degrees west. As you can see, not a whole lot of activity associated with that tropical wave, but generally we are expecting some showers in the south and also to the north. We're going to be seeing the modulation of this moisture over the northern portion of the area, and as a result the entire island chain could very well see some scattered showers tonight and into tomorrow, even the chance of isolated thunderstorms. Let's take a look at some stats. Sunrise tomorrow, 29 minutes to 6 o'clock. Sunset, 22 minutes after 6. The first high tide, 29 minutes after 5. The second is going to be at 6:49 in the p.m. And there's going to be one low tide at 17 minutes after 12. The sea is slight to moderate in open water, peaking at 1.5 meters. The winds southeasterly to southerly, 10 to 30 kilometers per hour. The predictions for Barbados for tonight, we're looking at partly cloudy to cloudy skies with some scattered showers, and tomorrow with the extra moisture moving into the area from the south, we're going to be looking at generally cloudy skies with some showers and possible isolated thunderstorms. And for the Lesser Antilles tonight, fair to partly cloudy with a few brief showers. For tomorrow over the southern windwards, generally cloudy with some showers and isolated and possible isolated thunderstorms. And as I indicated, over the north too, they should be seeing cloudy skies and some scattered showers.
Well, there's been a flurry of new talent entering the Cropover Arena for 2011. With over 200 songs already in circulation, producers and engineers have been kept busy over the last few months, ensuring that each song receives that special Cropover touch. One producer, Elmo Roach, known as Radar, has been working with some new artists who have expressed keen interest in making a contribution to the festival. Radar says this year has been a new experience for him as a producer.
This year we are working with artists in trying to get the music from the studios out to the streets, out to the people. It's more like outreach. So we try to finish our music early, that we can go, put our music in the hands of the DJs, get it out to the people, get it overseas, get people interested in what we're doing.
Artist Shakita Clark and Faith Graves believes more should be done to support new talent in Barbados.
What I would like to see is that more young people on stage, because majority of the times it's like one set of people who really get the explosion and the so what I want to see is more young people being pushed.
There should be more avenues for the young people to showcase their talents.
It's true,
because there are not enough avenues for the young
because people. Like when the bigger heads, the shareholders are gone, we are the future for Calypso, and we have to carry that torch. So if you want us to carry that torch, you got to give us some motivation to do so.
And that's our package for this Saturday. Do have a good night and a fantastic day tomorrow.
Cropover 2011. It's our heritage. It's our culture. It's explosive color and pulsating rhythms. CBC TV8, right there with you this Cropover.